Hi everyone, I hope you are all doing well today. So today I like to share one of the favorite recipes of mine. It's a savory milk bread with bacon or pork floss and spring onion. And these are light, fluffy, and they're just super delicious for a brunch, lunch, or even breakfast. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the flour paste, and this will just allow us to add so much more milk in it than we would normally be able to add if it was just dry flour. So all you're going to do is mix it together, and you're going to cook it on low heat for about 30 seconds or so until everything comes together. And then you're going to take it off the heat and let it cool slowly down to room temperature. Now it does not have to be all the way like completely cold, but as long as it's a bit cooler than the hot temperature that was on the stove, it will be perfect for the dough later on. So today we're actually going to use a stand mixer, and if you've been watching this channel, you'll probably notice that I do love to knead dough by hand, but today I am just feeling like I needed to speed it up a little bit faster, so I will be using the stand mixer. And like I said, if you want to knead everything by hand, that works just as well, which is what I've done more than once on this channel. So all we're going to do is we're going to add all the ingredients together. And so if you're wondering where the recipe is, it's all in the description. So mix it all together and just make sure your milk is a little bit lukewarm. So I usually put that in the microwave for about 30 seconds or so when I do bread. And like I said, today I am using instant yeast, so I won't be having to activate the yeast. So once you add it all together, mix it well, and then add your salt in last. So the yeast is a living thing, and so avoiding adding the salt directly to the milk mixture would help to prevent the yeast from being killed by the contact with the salt. And all you do is you mix it all together until it comes together, and then you're going to cover it up, let it rest for about 30 minutes or so, just to kind of allow the flour to absorb the liquid and start to form the gluten. Once that's done, then what you're going to do is you're going to add in the flour paste that we prepared earlier, and you're going to knead everything together on low setting, so the lowest setting possible on stir, and you're going to do this for about 5 minutes. Now if you find that it is a little dry, or it might look like it's a little sticky, and if it's too sticky, you can add in about a tablespoon or so of dry flour, and then just continue kneading together until everything comes away from the side. So you can kind of see that it is no longer sticking to the side, but it's still a little bit sticky on the bottom. This is actually perfect. As long as it is no longer sticking to the side, your dough is ready to go. Now if you find that it is too dry, you can add in a teaspoon or so of milk as well. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take the dough out of the mixing bowl and just kind of roll together into a ball. Now I am doing a double batch, so I'm going to actually show you, either you can cut the dough into 2 batches and then let it rise in 2 separate containers, or you can just roll the entire thing into a big ball of dough and let it rise in 1 container. So all you need to make sure you do is that you coat the dough ball with a little bit of oil, just to prevent a little skin forming around the dough while it is rising in the container. So once you do that, you just cover it up with a little bit of plastic wrap and let it sit somewhere that is draft free for about an hour or so until it doubles in size. So while we're waiting for the dough to rise, what we're going to do is we're going to prepare the filling. So I will be using green onions, and the amount that I'm using is actually for 2 batches. And we're just going to use the green part of the spring onion, or the green onion, whichever one you call it. And then I'm going to save the cuttings for me to plant in the garden later. So once you have the green onion chopped, you're going to find that I am using oil for this recipe. Now if you want to use butter, you can too. And the bacon that I'm using is uncooked, so I'm going to have to cook that separately because the pork floss that I have here is fully cooked. So if you are using pork floss, you don't have to cook it, but if you're using bacon, make sure you cook it before you actually add it to your dough. So I'm just going to cook it on low heat for about 30 seconds or so, or just until it sizzles and starts to finish cooking. And then I'm going to set it aside and for it to cool down to add to the dough later on. And the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to again use oil and stir fry, or I guess you can cook the green onion for about 30 seconds to about a minute. You don't have to cook it all the way, so that way you can have still a little bit of that onion taste, but at the same time not overcooking it so that it doesn't get too soft, right? And again, you're going to put the green onion aside so that it can cool down for you to use later on. So after an hour, the dough has fully risen, and the image on the left is actually a double batch in one bowl, and then the one on the right is actually two batches in two separate bowls. And so here I'm going to roll out the one batch to about the size of 12 by 18 inches. And if you are using a double batch, you want to increase the size as accordingly. And again, you can roll it with a rolling pin or you can roll it by hand. Either way would work as well. Once you have it all rolled out to the size that's appropriate, what you want to do is you want to spread the green onion oil mixture on top of the dough, just leaving about a 1-inch border around of the dough. And then you're going to sprinkle the cooked bacon on top if you're using, and if you are using the pork floss, you want to do the same by sprinkling the pork floss on top of the green onion mixture as well. Then you're going to roll up the dough into a log, and as you're rolling, you're going to find that you may have to tighten the dough a little bit because the pork floss is kind of fluffy and it may spill out. And make sure when you get to the end that you actually seal in the edges so that the filling doesn't spill out and get all over the place. So here I have a one batch which I will cut into 8 pieces for a 10-inch round pan, and if you are using a square pan, you want to cut it up into 9 pieces, and either way will work. I have done batches in both the square as well as the round pan, and you want to cover it up with plastic wrap and let it rest for about 45 to 60 minutes until it doubles in size. And you're going to bake it in a preheated oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or about 190 degrees Celsius for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now just before baking, what you want to do is you want to brush the bread with egg wash. So the egg wash that I have here is just 1 egg yolk with a little bit of milk, and again you want to brush it in just on top just before you are about ready to bake it. And again, once you bake it, it's gonna look delicious. And again, if you want a little bit darker, you want to bake it a little longer. If you want a little bit lighter, you take it out a little bit sooner. And here it is, both batches. That concludes today's video. I want to say thank you so much for watching. Enjoy my recipe, and I hope to see you all next time. Take care. Bye bye for now.